All right, hello, my name is Osborne, and this is my submission for Jazzpunk Special Agent into SGDQ 2024. Now, Jazzpunk is this absurd, satirical, silly comedy game, and the specific category that we're doing, Special Agent, is a achievement hunting / all achievements category in which we're going to go out of our way to do a lot of ridiculous tasks on top of being in the game in order to unlock the achievements that this game has to offer. Now, the last time that this was shown off was SGDQ 2021, and in the 3 years that this game has developed, there's been a lot of optimizations, differences in the speedrun, such as special glitches, out-of-bounds sequences, and even save load shenanigans that we're going to be doing that were not present in the original showing of this game online. And this will also be the first time that this game will be shown off in person. And with the absurd and silly nature of this game, I think it's going to be an absolute blast for audiences. There's going to be timestamps in the description for all the really cool highlights of this run that I think really make it shine. But with that being said, we're just going to go straight into it. Timing will begin once we do our first input in the first level, so almost immediately. So 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking to this box, and the box will talk back. Now, we are playing as Polyblank, kind of this undercover agent that works for this secret organization. And right now, we're supposed to be talking to the director, who will give us our mission and then give us a bottle of missional pills to go and activate the mission. But instead, the bottle of missional pills just kind of sit out of bounds until the cutscene ends, and then it will be teleported up so you can drink it. So if you go out of bounds and grab it out of bounds, you can drink it, and it'll just immediately put you to the next level. And we're going to be saving and loading right there in order to skip that cutscene. That's going to be something that you're going to be seeing a lot in this run. Now, we are supposed to infiltrate the Soviet consulate and retrieve a data cartridge that is imperative to the director and the information that's on it. But we're going to be doing a lot of tasks, 5 tasks specifically, that have absolutely nothing to do with what I just said. Number 1, we're going to be playing Frogger. This frog would like the Wi-Fi password to the coffee shop across the street, and we need this visor in order to grab it. Once we put on the visor, we're going to be licking up a lot of the passwords that we're seeing here, 8 of them specifically, and they are RNG as to where they are, and so we got a really good RNG there. We're also going to, help that guy who needed saliva for his envelope, since we have the frog tongue. And now we're going to be doing, taking this bottle of pills in order to activate this glitch, in which we pick it up while we're on top of it, and it'll launch us over here to the top of this rooftop, where we will need to talk to this guy, and he is gonna ask us to smuggle this carrier pigeon into the next level. And what better way to do that than to just swallow it, like so. And now we're going to go talk to another undercover agent who is going to ask us to knock 3 pigeons out of the sky by interrupting their frequencies. These pigeons are just robots. And so we're going to be doing that by interrupting their frequencies with this gun that he gave us. And you can see that the pigeons also dropped pigeon pheromones. That is another task that we need to do in this run. But first, we're going to make a small phone call over here. Right, as you can see. All right, phone call done. With this gun, we also need to knock like 4 agents out of trees, and we need to do that before we get rid of the birds, because otherwise the gun will get removed from us. But as we knock down these birds, we're going to be dropping down the pigeon pheromones, and part of the task that we need to do is spraying 3 people with the pigeon pheromones that we get right there. And you can see the pigeons will just go out and grab and take them away. So we're going to be knocking 1 last agent out of the tree, and then we're going to be getting 1 last bird. And the birds can, they have specific places that they can land, but every single time you open up the game, it's kind of random as to where they start and where they go, depending on the movement and where you're shooting them. And so that's another piece of RNG that we have to keep in mind. We are supposed to wait until these guys go on lunch break, and they only go on lunch break at 12 o'clock, so we're just going to turn it to 12 o'clock because that's how time works in this game. And then we're going to do a small clip here so that we don't get trapped in the elevator, and then save load so that we get warped upwards until after the elevator has already gone up. Now we're going to play some Space Invaders. There we go. And now we're going to be going, and this specific telephone only works on the specific frequency, and they just happen to be a machine that activates that frequency in the cereal box. And so after getting that, here's the data cartridge that we need in order to finish this mission. We're going to take this guy's painting, and we're going to pretend to be him, identity theft. And that's pretty much the end of the Soviet consulate. Yeah, we're just going to go down the trash bin and exit the level. And it'll bring us to this wonderful pond. But first, before we go on to the next level, we have to do a small cutscene here in which we are going to have a debriefing for our next mission that the director is going to be showing us right here. There's this biotech engineer. He's like dressed as a cowboy, and he has this artificial kidney that he has that the director needs. And so that's essentially what the next mission is going to be. But overall, you can already see that this run goes like a mile a minute. We did 1,000 different things, or it feels like 1,000 different things in that first level, and we're just gonna be doing 1,000 more things in the next two levels as well, or next 3 levels, I should say, since this game is kind of split up into 4 main areas. But before we go into the next mission, we're just gonna look out because this area that we're in, like the train, is just spawned in the middle of where we were, in the pond. And before going on to the next mission, we're going to save and load so we can skip that opening cutscene, in which it just introduces us to the cowboy that we need to go and grab the kidney from. We're going to be taking this trash can because we want to unactivate the opening of that cutscene for later, so that we don't have to watch it all the way through. We're going to talk to another cardboard box, and it will talk back. And before we go and follow the cowboy like the game wants us to, we're going to go into this store, and we're going to be killing the flies. There's going to be 3 of them. And if you can do it without breaking the bases, that's really, really impressive. And usually they'll just land on the bases, and they'll do the same movements every single time. So it's pretty easy to know what to do in each case. We're going to put a Q-tip in that guy's ear because we need to eat a sandwich off of his brain later. Don't ask why. It will not help. And so here's where the cowboy is. We need to go and poison his food. And the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be grabbing 8 spiders. You only need to grab 5, but part of the achievement is grabbing 8 spiders total. And we're going to be throwing it onto the face of one of the chefs. And if you are arachnophobic, now is a good time to look away. But taking 8 of these spiders, throwing it onto the chef's face, I'm sure he's fine. And we're going to grab this poisonous pufferfish, and we're going to be spraying one of the food with it, one of the sushi plates. And that sushi plate is going to get fed to the cowboy, because we need to poison him so that he throws up his artificial kidney. Because, you know, that's how the human body works, of course. Although no one in this game is really human, so, like, it kind of makes sense in the context of this game. So the cowboy gets sick, we go and grab his kidney. That is very stomach shaped, it's not a kidney at all, but we're going to gloss over that fact. Now, technically we've already done what we're here to like do in the level, but first we need to go eat the sandwich off that guy's brain. We're going to return our tapes to Blockbuster because that's why they went out of business in the first place. Of course, you got to be respectful to Blockbuster. And now this guy has a job for you. And so this guy is going to give us a mission in which we have to retire, in huge quotes, 3 Realplicants. This is a small cutscene, but it's also one of the more comedic moments in this game because this character is just absolutely hilarious. But Ikeyaki Alley has a lot of different side quests, and this is probably the longest side quest that they have. And so we're going to be going to find these Realplicants. Like, everyone in the game is pretty much just a machine, but the Realplicants are just real people with like organs and bones and stuff. And so we're going to be taking this machine, and that's how you like detect whether or not someone's a Realplicant. You just got to take a picture of them with the machine. So we're going to be going up these stairs. So the Realplicants are always in the same spot, like they're not randomized or anything. So thank goodness for that. So we can just do the same movement every single time. As you can see, that's how they end up in the picture, and that's how you know they're Realplicant. And one finicky thing about this is that your crosshair kind of has to, no matter how close you are to them, if your crosshair is not like pointing at the Realplicants, you could take a clear as day picture of them, and it will not like activate the cutscene that like shows up the balloons and sees that you've retired them. And so that's something that unfortunately I have actually lost time to in a run, but as long as you're careful with it, it should be fine. And so now we've taken pictures of the 3 Realplicants, and we're going to go back to the chief in order to report our progress. But of course, the chief didn't really want us to retire the Realplicants. When he means retire, he means kill. And this scene is just the funniest thing. I think it has like one of like the objectively best jokes in this game. So I'm just going to let this scene play out a little bit. Your badge, and your gun, and your other gun, and your other badge, and your badge gun, and your gun badge. Now get the hell out of my office. Alright, so now that we're done with that mission with the chief, we're going to go and rob a bank in a cyberpunk world, because of course that's the natural thing you would do next. So we're going into this cyberpunk world. We're going to meet up with Cassette. And she is going to help us rob we're going to help her rob the bank, her and her ragtag team. Thank you for censoring yourself, Cassette. That was very respectful. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be having some sneezeware in order to unlock the mission that allow us to rob this bank. The sneezeware is made in 3 parts. They're all in the same spot every time, so it's a pretty simple memorized movement. This area is pretty small, all things considered, but it's actually a part of the game that has a really huge skip that we're not going to be doing because it's not like marathon friendly, and so we're just going to be glossing over that for now. And so we're going to be returning to the punks, and we're going to be activating a sneeze gun from all the materials that we just got. It is exactly what it sounds like. It is just a gun that creates sneezes. But first, we got to collect the germs that are going to go into this, because we want to infect people, and we want to infect the bank system by giving it a virus in order to rob the bank, of course. So now that we've gone all of the germs, we don't really need that much. It's a certain amount. It's the same every single time. We're going to go and we're going to crack vault security and start robbing the bank as Cassette wants us to. First, we're going to sneeze these guards by just sneezing on them and throwing them to the ground. They're so disgusted by our actions that they just fall to the floor. And now we're going to give the security system in this bank a virus by sneezing on it with the sneeze word that we just got, because that's just the logic that we have in this world. R.I.P. to her. And now we're going to go rob the bank. The other facet, or the other mechanic of the sneeze gun, is that it also sucks things up, or sniffs things up, I should say. In this case, it's going to sniff up all the money in this very small, teeny weeny gun that we have. But, you know, just ignore the logic. If you try to, like, understand the logic in this game, it's not going to work out. And we're going to seize up that guy because he's just in our way. And now... it's a small cutscene here, but we're going to just finish off here. No one survived except Cassette, but we're just going to leave Cassette instead by flying away in this car and leaving her here to get arrested. And that's pretty much it. That's like all of robbing the bank. That's the entire mission. It's a very funny mission and a nice little detour in order to unlock the rob the bank achievement. And now we're going to go, and you saw it in the beginning of the level, we activated like that trash bin with spider legs in order to walk up a wall and activate a cutscene, and that was the cutscene to this wrestler that just exploded out of the wall there, and he challenged us to a wrestling match, and now we're going to be doing that. There are some strats to this wrestling match, however, there are some things that just aren't in control, and one of those things is the dialogue that both the announcer and Psychomaniac, the wrestler that you're against, does in like the opening and ending of this match, like before and after you defeat him. And so here's the first piece of dialogue that's RNG. This is like a pretty shorter one. There are really, really short ones, but there are also like really, really long ones, and you just unfortunately just lose time to him just rambling on, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's an unfortunate time loss if it does happen, but this was a really good one. But even then, that's like the longer version of the dialogue that the announcer could do, so like both of them have RNG elements that are separate from one another. And so we're going to be picking up Johnny Psycho, and we're going to be punching him with these boxing gloves. The boxing gloves are like objectively the fastest way to defeat him. They do the most damage. There are chairs here that you would think do more damage than that, and whenever he's a bother to us, we're just going to throw him back to the ground. And so that was a pretty quick kill when it comes to Psychomaniac. And thankfully, in this next section, I think this is actually a pretty short dialogue in the outro from the announcer. He kind of skips a piece of dialogue that we usually listen to at first and just goes straight to the congratulations. And brilliant. Back to you in the studio. Back to you in the studio is a shorter version of that dialogue. So thankfully we got good RNG on the Psychomaniac fight when it came to dialogue, and a pretty good fight in itself. The strats and the RNG with Psychomaniac's behavior was pretty kind to us in that sense. And so now we're here in the temple. This is like an intermission part in between this mission and the next mission, just so we can meditate and relax after a very stressful mission. And now we're going to be debriefing again with the director, and he just wanted that artificial kidney for a steak and kidney pie. A very illegal thing. Is this person a good guy? No, we're rooting for him anyway because he's on our team and he gives us money for these missions, and he's also paying for our vacation in Kai Tak Resort, which is the next area that we're going to be going to. But first, we get to travel there ourselves in this map, and this is a map that you can actually like move around, and this is not like a cutscene. At first, I thought it was a cutscene in this game, but it's actually something you can move around in. But now we're going to be going to Kaitak Resort. At first, there's not any particular mission that we're sent on to do other than like checking into the hotel, and then the director will later tell us to go hunt down a man. But first, we're going to be doing the Street Fighter mission, which is just fighting a Honda Accord. Of course, this is a nice like parody of like Street Fighter games, but of course in first person. And the way that this car works is that like you can't just keep punching it and it'll take damage. You have to like punch all the individual parts of the car and give it like, and then spot damage all the individual parts so that can actually break, including the roof and all the doors and the trunk and the lights, and making sure that you're constantly close to the car and moving around it so that you don't have to walk around too much. And thankfully that was a pretty quick kill on the Honda Accord here, and he didn't fight back. I wonder why. Maybe it's because he's just a car, although he does look pretty beaten up and bleeding. I don't know why that is, but that's that minigame. And now we're going to be going into the most infamous minigame, but also the most iconic minigame of this entire run, and that is Wedding Quake. It is the most RNG heavy portion of the run, but it's very manageable still. And so Wedding Quake is supposed to be a like spoof on Quake 3, and so it's going to give us an online version of the shooter that's very similar to Quake games. And so we're going to be fighting them with this rose gun. We were actually spawned in like the ideal spot for the rose gun, because the rose gun can be in 3 different locations, and the spot that we spawned in allowed us to get to any of the locations really, really quickly. And so we have a specific very specific settings turned on, because the rules allow for any specific user settings to be made. And so we only need 5 kills, and we have a lot of different AIs that are present in the map, and every single map that we're going to be doing. There's 5 maps total. As you can see here, the rose gun can change locations if you die. So we're just going to be killing some more enemies right here, and as soon as that happens, we're going to get the 5th kill, and we're going to exit and resume and going into the next map. This next map we're going to be doing in 2-player mode, because for some reason, if you press J, it'll spawn you back to where your second player is. And in these 2 maps, for some reason, you always start with like a bottle of spiders, and the bottle of spiders appears in your hand every time that you go back and spawn back to where your partner was. And so we're going to be using all of these spiders in pretty quick succession. And as you can see, the second player, if you kill the second player, that also counts as a kill. And so that's also part of the reason why we use 2P in this particular instance. It's just the easiest way to get as many kills as possible. And if you combine that with like the CPU kills you're going to be getting in this level, it's a pretty quick kills that you can do. And so as you can see here, this particular level was not kind to us, because the enemy RNG was brutal. It just spawned in a lot of enemies to where player 2 was originally spawned in, and for a second you saw that another like CPU ended up getting the lead, because the moment that any player, like not even you, but any CPU player also gets like 5 kills, it'll end the game. And so we don't want that to happen. But thankfully we were able to pull through. We're going to go back to 1 player for these final 2 maps, and this is Kaitak Resorts. In case it wasn't obvious, a lot of these maps are like all of these maps are based on real locations that you see in the game, but just in a more battle arena edited version of this game that'll be more fitting for the Quake battles that we see. And so right here, we're just going to be killing that guy with the guitar. We got, unfortunately, the worst spawn that this map could give us, but we're going to be going over here because we want the gravy boat. The gravy boat is like a remote power gravy boat that kind of acts like a rocket, and it's the most overpowered weapon in the Quake minigame, because you can just aim it anywhere and it'll instantly kill anyone that it touches. And so we're just going to like wait for all of the computers to naturally come up here, because they're going to see us standing up here, and they're going to try and kill us up on this bridge. But we can just see, as soon as we see them, we can just activate the gravy boat. And we're going to be doing the same thing here for this gravy boat. We get the second best spawn right here. There is a best spawn that you could get right next to the swimming pool. But I think we got the second best spawn. We're going to hide in this corner and just wait for more enemies to come towards us. And so we're able to do that pretty quickly. As you can see, we got 4 kills pretty much immediately. And we're going to kill this guy. He almost killed us, which was very scary during the run. but thankfully we were able to pull through and kill him before he did. And as soon as you get the last kill, you can just exit and go into the next section. As you can see here, this is kind of like a Donnie Darko reference in which we're going to be going through a lot of portals, because part of the achievement process in this game is that you have to go through every single multiverse. And so we're going to go through 4 multiverses specifically with these strangers who are going to call us Master Polyblank, but we don't know who they are. And after this section, this specific section, like right here, you can pick up the portal gun early. But you don't want to spam it, because otherwise it'll like shoot the portal out of bounds and you won't be able to get towards it, because you actually have to like be within a specific radius of it in order for the portal to work. And so you don't want to keep spamming the portal button. You want to make sure that it's actually aiming in the correct direction. But now we're on a nude beach in a universe in which Kaitak has a nude beach on it. And so we're going to be finding a certain items with this metal detector, including a woolly mammoth, a CD. But first, before we get to the next item, we got to return our tapes, of course. You gotta be respectful. And we're gonna get an N64, or a polygraphic entertainment system, as the game likes to call it. And now we're gonna be getting an Oscar for the most valuable indie game player, of course. It's special. This treasure chest, and of course, a bit of a Star Wars reference, a man in a cryogenic chamber. And that's it. And that's the entire thing that we need to do on this nude beach, and now we can go straight back to the portals. We need to go through 2 more wormholes. A wonderful time here. And we're going to go through 1 more, and that'll bring us back to like the original universe that we were in. They are most undignified circumstances. But we're going to go through this portal, and right off the bat, we're going to be going straight into our next achievement. And so the next thing that we're going to be doing is jumping over this fence, getting onto this diving board, because one achievement is just like landing awkwardly and breaking your neck. Like so, and you want to land on this pizza because it's secretly a computer that brings you to another minigame. And this is a minigame that we could have done like earlier. Like there's multiple pizza boxes that could have brought you to this minigame. But in this particular route that we've created, it is faster to do it right here. It is supposed to be like a spoof on, horror games, but also a Pizza Hut reference. And we're going to be taking this pizza cutter, and we're going to be attacking the 3 enemies that are right here in front of the Pizza Hut. These are the only enemies that are required for you to kill before you enter the Pizza Hut. And we're going to be reading a small typewriter sheet here that just says pizza, 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 pizza over and over again. And here's an Evil Dead 2 reference. A perfectly normal thing. We're going to rescue this guy that's drowning in this pool because he's the boyfriend of this girl right here. We're just going to plop him there. I'm sure he's fine. And now we're going to be going into another glitch right here, in which we're going to like lodge ourselves halfway through this elevator, and you can use like the number keys on your keyboard to activate which floor you go to. And so we're going to go straight to floor 4. We're going to grab this ticket from the bellhop, and we're going to go straight into our room, in which we're going to grab the suitcase, and we're going to call from our director, because he's going to go tell us to hunt down someone named an editor, and we want to get the contents of their suitcase, which is why we got ours. And so you're seeing here that I'm saving and loading in order to move a little bit before the cutscene begins, because once we get to the end of that room and pick up the wig and the makeup, as soon as we touch it, we can just apply the lipstick, and then we can move during this cutscene. And so we're going to be using that, and we need this lipstick because we're going to be kissing 3 people. That's just an achievement that we get, just kissing 3 random people in this restaurant. And now we're here. We switched the suitcase with the editor, and this will keep going. Thankfully, nothing really messes up with the game when this cutscene is going on. You can just keep doing things as normal, even as a cutscene, because it only takes up like half the screen. We're going to kiss 1 more person. We got a cocktail from a woman in red. It is not poisoned. Psych, it is poisoned. Of course it is, because the plot needs the plot. But here's the woman in red, and here's the editor who somehow managed to know her name. What could have done? It's almost like this was premeditated. We have a small cutscene here in which we are poisoned to sleep, and we're going to wake up in Kaitak Resort, but at night, in a mysterious hotel room with lights shining in our face. And so what you're supposed to do here is you get a note under your door from like well, first of all, we get another like glitch here. We're going to save and load in this elevator, and as you can see, the elevator now goes back to like floor 3, and so the game still thinks that we're in the elevator because the dialogue for the elevator was still activated, and so the elevator goes back up to floor 3 as we're falling, and so it gives us a little bit of more distance and height in order to activate the elevator and give us more distance into the swimming pool right there. And we're going to return one last blockbuster tape, of course. And instead of going through like a whole series of like, we're going to talk to a conspiracy theorist and it'll lead us to the end, we're just going to go straight through here. And we're going to struggle a little bit on this glitch, but essentially what we're going to be doing, as you can see there, the elevator is still moving up and down. And when the elevator moves back down, we can clip through the floor if we line ourselves up correctly. It should get it around 3rd try, as you can see right there. And so that pretty much skips like the entire cutscene that we have to go through with the conspiracy theorist. He's going to tell us to go do a mission and we have to go do that. We're going to skip all of that by just clipping through the floor using the elevator glitch that we had later. And so this is WETWORKS. It is just like a Dream-esque sequence in which we are going to be going through all these funnels that'll lead us up to the top of the WETWORKS, and we're going to be interacting with a small computer. Although this is like bitrate hell because it just destroys the bitrate of all of your of all the streams that this area is in because all the dots that are going through the screen, and so that's always fun. But WETWORKS, you want to make sure that you're like solidly in all these funnels because you can just exit the funnels whenever you please and they'll like shoot you back down or shoot you like in the opposite direction if you leave the funnel by accident. And now we're going to activate this computer that's at the end of the WETWORKS, and we're going to wake up back in Darlington Station. And now we're going to go straight into the final level of the game, which is the bachelor pad. But first, we're going to go back to talk to our director, and we're going to see the director's kidnapped. It's a cardboard cutout. And so he's been kidnapped by the editor, and so we're going to go to the editor's bachelor pad in order to save him. But this is another, like, this is like the final time in the run in which you get some downtime in order to relax, because you don't need to like spam through text or anything. These cutscenes, the moment you sit down, they're just going to play out and you can just let them go through. The message is going to self-destruct, and the tone shifts a little bit because we see that our director is in danger. So we're going to go back here. We're going to let this particular scene play out instead of save loading because we're going to save load in the next room in order to skip that cutscene. So it's either skip this cutscene or the next one, and the next one is longer, and you can only choose one of the two. And so we're going to be, as soon as we talk to this robot, we're going to save and load, and that'll open up the door immediately so we can skip all the dialogue. We're going to be doing a few things first. We're going to be exterminating all of the bugs on the floor. And as soon as we hear all the bugs get exterminated, there's going to be a ding. There you go. And now we're going to be playing Fruit Ninja. Fruit Ninja is a very annoying game sometimes, only because like the fruits can be a little finicky, but you need to cut 12 fruits, and you can see me that I'm spamming the interact buttons on the bottom part of the screen so that maybe I can cut them before they go up, so that, you know, the less time they're in the air, the faster that this minigame goes through. And it's pretty successful a lot of the time, as you can see here. And the final one will always be a banana. And the bananas are the most finicky because they're like shaped weird, and they're like the hitboxes for them are like the exact shape of the banana. And so that can always be finicky to deal with. And so we're going to use the bidet because we have an achievement that unlocks if we use the bidet. We're going to pick the lock, and we're going to be doing a little bit of a pillow fight with this little glass right here. And she falls out the window. I'm sure she's fine. And now we're going to be taking this remote, and we're going to be freeing the editor, or the director that was hidden up in the ceiling. We're going to spin the bottle, and we think we're going to kiss this beautiful woman, and then instead we get interrupted by this unhygienic man, and we get kissed by him instead. Very rude. But we're going to sit through a small cutscene here because we need to talk to the editor, and he's going to tell us to look around. Ah! There's a crab. Okay, again? Who? What? Okay, so now the editor's trying to get our attention. Polymag is having a little bit of trouble with it. Your other left. Come on, Polymag. It's not that hard. Back? There we go. Perfect. All right. So now the editor is going to challenge us to a game of sports. We're going to go through a lot of different small games as we get to the home stretch of this run. And so there's only around like 6 minutes left of the run. And a lot of that is just like not a lot of that is like the mini games that we're gonna be doing, and just this is like the last major cutscene of the game. The rest we can like skip through saving and loading. But as you can see, this game is just like non-stop over and over again. It's just mini game after mini game, achievement after achievement, and even though like any percent can kind of just go do each and every single level, Special Agent is so much more fun because you do so much more ridiculous antics, and you get a lot more interest in like enjoyment out of it, just because of all of the things you go out of your way to do, and all the achievements you get to unlock, and all the ridiculous things that you get to see in the game. It's a beautiful category. So as you can see here, we're going to play some mini golf. The director was playing with a bat, and he said he wasn't going to cheat, but of course that's a lie, because why wouldn't he cheat? He's the editor. And so as you can see here, the ball can go out like out of bounds, or like out of the bounds of the like the playing field, and so that's just something that you can just improvise. Like you, as long as you're within a specific range of the golf ball, you can just hit it wherever. And so we're gonna save and load to skip like walking to the second hole. And so the editor is gonna cheat once again, and we're gonna just be aiming here and using a cue ball instead of a golf club. We get this in second try. Because of the save load that we did, the editor is not gonna walk over to the third hole. He's just gonna like hit the ball immediately, and then he's gonna walk over to the third hole, because we can't like start our third hole until he walks over. You don't want to like do full power with this golf ball, or this soccer ball I should say, because it changed to a soccer ball, because sometimes it'll like go really out of bounds if you have too much power, and it'll like fly up into the air. And so that's something you have to be careful with in this third hole. You're going to save and load because we want to skip this cutscene of him walking up these stairs. We're just going to grab this cart, and we're going to fly over to the next rooftop, because of course he's the editor. He owns 3 rooftops, or just 3 buildings entirely, which is arguably really worse. And now we're going to do some gravy boat racing in Gravy Race 64. Of course. What did you expect? We turned the entire pool into just gravy, and now we're in gravy boats. And you would think that this looks easy, but believe it or not, so like the way that you control this gravy boat is just through keyboard and mouse, which is a bit of a like subversion of expectations, because you controlled the cart to get to this rooftop with like your mouse, and so like just your mouse and like holding forward. But in the gravy boat race, you just use your keyboard, like you just use WASD, and so it can be a bit finicky. And we could probably be like really precise and hold left more, and like really like keep close to the wall, closer than we already are. But if you hit the wall, you're going to be slowing down, and so that's something that's really finicky and really hard to like balance in this run. But it's a really fun mini game, and I absolutely love it. And so we're going to be just finishing, saving, loading. To skip the cutscene that happens after that mini game, and we're gonna try and kiss a beautiful woman again. We're getting interrupted by the same guy. How rude of him! Can you just let us have a kiss? Of course. We're gonna take the pink card this time, and we're going to come over here, and we're gonna land right here, and the editor is gonna be right behind us. We're gonna do one final mini game with the editor, which is a game of virtual tennis. Not real tennis, even though there's this quite clearly like a tennis court, and he's rich enough to get real tennis rackets. But no, we're gonna do virtual tennis just to show off his richness and his money. But instead of just playing the game, we're just gonna take this chair and we're gonna beat him over the head with it. Champion! Because that's how you win at sports. You just cheat. But of course, even losing doesn't make the editor forfeit. He just says it's reverse winning. And his ego is inflated either way. We're gonna liquefy these people, just as one does. What did you expect? Doesn't your hot tub have a liquefy setting? And we're gonna be getting a Bloody Mary, because this woman is thirsty and she needs a Bloody Mary. And so we're gonna be taking all these like tiaras and sashes and awards and stuff, and we're gonna be giving them to the editor, and we're gonna inflate his ego a lot. Because once his ego is inflated all the way, we can just pop. And then he goes away, and the editor is defeated. And we're going to walk over this bridge sideways, and we're going to jump. Because for some reason, that is faster than jumping forward or just walking. You can try it out. It really is. We're going to consume vast amounts of jelly in order to fulfill ethical responsibilities. The assistant is stuck in that jelly, and we're going to eat all of it. It takes 26 hours. All right, now we're going to go into the director, but instead of freeing the director, we're just going to turn him into a crocodile. And before we move on with the rest of the game, we're going to scratch this record, grab another record, and then scratch that, because that's another achievement that we need to get as this cutscene is playing out. And the director is going to open his mouth, and we're just going to crawl in, because we can fit. And we're going to save and load as soon as we get into the esophagus, because that'll skip this cutscene of us just going through here. And now, this is kind of like the credit sequence. Time is going to come up in like a minute. This esophagus, or this endoscopy part, is a little long. We're going to be walking down through here, and there's a jungle inside this guy's stomach. And so, we're going to be getting out the machete, of course. You should naturally have a machete in your stomach. And we're going to be cutting down all these trees. And that's pretty much the run. You can see how absurd and silly this game is. It's obviously like a really wonderful inclusion for the silly block. But the game kind of speaks for itself. And even in this run, there's like on-the-fly RNG stuff that you have to worry about. There's different glitches and tricks that have been present here that weren't present before in the last showing of this run. So it's just an absolutely amazing inclusion, especially with the energy that it's going to have in person. And so, conveniently, he has missional in his stomach in case he gets transmogrified into a mammal reptile hybrid. And so we're going to be drinking this missional, and the moment that we drink it, that's going to be time. He has a violent immune system. We got to be careful. We don't get to see the mission because we're just going to end the game right here. And that's time. And the simulation ends in 3, 2, 1. And that's it. That's the game. That is Jazzpunk any percent. Or, sorry, Special Agent. I'm going to pause just so nothing else happens in the run, because this is like a full recording of all the grinding sessions that I did here. And so that is Jazzpunk Special Agent. It's an absolutely absurd run, a ridiculous run, and there was a lot to explain, and I hope I did my best explaining it, and I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I enjoy running it. And so I think this is an absolutely wonderful inclusion, even with like the time gap that it has been since the last showing. It's about time that this gets an in-person showing, and there's a lot of different glitches and stuff that's like very unique to this run that wasn't present before. I mentioned that before, but you know, I think that that's just a really huge selling point for this, and the audience is gonna love it. I know I do. I think this is a hilarious game and a really impressive speedrun. And so I hope that comes off to you. And again, thank you so much for your consideration. I hope this gets a slot in. And that's all from me. My name has been Osborne. This has been Jazzpunk Special Agent. Thank you so much for your consideration. I hope to see this at SGDQ. See you in Minnesota.